Is it possible to be an artist and a success? The act of being an artist doesn't stop.
While being a success is like the goalpost.
I'm still expressing myself and how I feel. But once this creation is created, now I have a new task of making money from this thing that I created.
I think that's where the art ends and the science begins. We right now are currently in progress.
We in paradise.
That ain't the bubble I live in.
My bubble is for the black girlies.
Get on my motherfucking face.
Please.
Push the goddamn button.
Action.
Is it possible to be an artist and a success? Right? This stems from a video that has been circulating on TikTok. It was from an old video of Angelou and James Baldwin talking. And pretty much the entire premise of it was it's impossible for you to be both an artist and a success. And do y'all want to hear my thoughts first, or do y'all have thoughts that y'all are ready and primed to share?
I got thoughts.
Okay, feel free, man. So what do you guys think? Is it possible to be an artist and a success?
I say you can be an artist and a success because the artist defines what's successful.
Does it?
I can expound, but
You said you had thoughts, so I thought you had like a bunch to
He
say.
said one thought. One solid thought.
Clear
That's all I
and
needed.
concise.
Solid ground.
Okay. My thinking when I first heard this, because the basis of what they were saying was pretty much when you are artists and you say that you're a success, a lot of times you stop striving for more. And it reminded me of when we were in college and used to talk about how we didn't necessarily, how we felt like fully understanding music theory or reading music and stuff like that. We felt like that might hold us back in our creativity. So it had me thinking of that. I'm undecided right now. Because I fully understand what they're saying. It's kind of like a thing of, if you say that you are a success, then there's nothing left for you to do.
Why do you feel that?
Well, I was saying that's what they were saying.
Didn't you say you agree with it?
I said I understand what they're saying.
Right.
Well, if you look at it from a standpoint of, typically when people lead a successful career, like in a regular world or corporate world, then they retire. Like they feel like they achieved all they could achieve or all they wanted to achieve. Then they retire and they be like, oh, I don't really have nothing else to do in this area. Versus if you feel like there's more that you want to achieve in this area, then you're going to keep going or growing in that space.
So you're not able to want more and still feel successful? Question mark.
Well, I think, are you asking me my opinion, or are you asking me, because I was just, I was saying I understand what they were saying from the video. So are you asking based off of the video, or are you asking me my personal thing? Because I said I'm undecided on if I agree with what they said or not.
But you understand their take on it, so I'm asking on behalf of them, since they aren't here to let us know.
Oh, so I'm the spokesperson. Okay. Give me the voice, how I do it.
Is it possible to be an artist and a success?
Wow. Say no.
That was good.
Oh, okay. So you said you can't be successful and want more?
Mm-hmm.
I think that the point of it is that once you decide that it's like if you go into the moon, let's use astronauts. Why I'm using these random, okay. Let's use astronauts. If a mission was successful, 9 times out of 10, they don't repeat the mission. Like the mission of going to the moon, it's not going to be the same mission the next time.
But that doesn't make you not a successful astronaut.
Yeah, but it's like, we don't got to do this again.
You do something else. It's still in the astronaut realm. So if you're an artist and you make it to whatever, you make it to the point that you wanted to make it to that'll make you feel successful, then you do something else. Still artsy. It can still be in the same medium. It just doesn't have to be the same exact thing.
Okay.
You're not them,
I was about
so
to
you
say,
don't
Yeah.
have the
I was
answers.
about to say, I know.
But
I was like, I think I can. So for me, how I understood what they were talking about is the nature of being an artist and the nature of being a success are two totally different things, right? Being an artist has nothing to do with being successful. Being an artist is 100% about the act of creative expression. Creative expression isn't a success or not a success. It's creative expression. So technically, if you're going to be an artist, like really being a true artist, whatever that might be, but that I'm just gonna use it for the sake of this. Being a true artist, the second you become a success, now you're doing it you're not doing it. The point isn't creative expression anymore. The point is more formulaic.
so this is why I disagree with their statement, because if the point of being an artist is creative expression, the fact that I express myself creatively means that I am successful.
Yes, I agree with that portion. But to be a success is different than having successfully
completed something.
express yourself. Like you being a success in life is completely different than you creatively expressing yourself. You can creatively express yourself and never be considered a success, that kind of thing. I'm doing my best to understand because I wasn't there for that conversation. I didn't get a chance to ask, but I think that's where they're going, is like the idea of being an artist, and like it's a constantly a moving goal. There's really no success. You never hit the point where if you're still continuing to be like a true artist, that you never really hit the point of, hey, I've done all of the creative work that I could do. I'm a success with this now. It always feels like there's more to be done. With success in general, it feels more formulaic, and it feels more like you're trying to repeat something that you've done before. So I've created the formula. The formula is now a success because I can repeat it, and that's not. I'm not going to say that's not art, but technically that's commerce. Like you made a product, and now you want to be able to remake the product. So it's like, if I'm Picasso, if Picasso's painting the same picture over and over again so he can sell it, is that art, or is that him just making a product?
Was that a question for me to answer?
Sure.
Or was it rhetorical?
Oh.
No,
I
sure.
thought it was a question.
Yeah, it was a question for you to answer. I wasn't thinking rhetorical, but
It could be.
So you say the question again? If Picasso paint the same picture over and over?
yeah.
To
Just
sell.
to sell. Yeah, like he's like, oh, this worked. I'm going to sell this again. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this again. Is that, like, is he an artist because he does that?
It doesn't mean that he's successful because he does that. I feel like success is determined by the person. It's about perspective. So if the goal was to make a certain amount of money from this thing, and I do that, I'm successful. If the goal was just creative expression and I did that, I'm successful. So what's the difference between being successful and being a success? So is being successful an internal thing or a personal thing, and being a success an external thing?
I think being successful is like an ongoing process, while being a success is like the goalpost. Like, if you think about it like milestones, or if you're doing a course or something like that, when you do a certain amount, it'll say you've successfully completed this amount. So you've been successful up until this point. But determining that you are a success means that you completed the whole of everything. I think that's really what it is. Like, being a success, like determining that you have been a success just in general. I think that is indicative of I have nothing left to do here. Like I'm a success. I don't have anything as far as the artist goes. I feel like it's like I don't have anything left to give in this area. And it could mean that you move on to a different medium, or it could mean that now instead of writing books, you read books, or you go retire on a golf course, or depending on who the person is, because I think that also is determined by their personal motives or their personal motivations, their goals, because I think success is personally defined by each person. Because my success is not going to look like y'all's success, but I think that typically for an artist, once you say I am a success, that means that it's like a grandfather or a great 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 grandfather or grandmother looking at their lineage and being like, look what I've done. This is beautiful.
So
I can die now.
to that, when y'all
That went all the way off the deep end.
No, but like when you think about it like that, that's how I imagine or I feel like what they're describing.
So earlier when y'all was saying, usually when you say you're a success, you retire. It sounds like y'all saying success happens at the end. But just because I finished a season doesn't make me not an artist.
What?
So the initial thing was you can't be an artist and a success. If I give everything I have to this art and now I'm a success, that doesn't take away the fact that I'm an artist.
I agree, but even in the way you said it, right? If I give everything I have to this thing and now I'm a success, like the act of being an artist doesn't stop, right? So like when you're describing it, like when you're at the end of a creation, you're just at the end of a creation. But like when you decide that this thing is a success, like she kind of similar to what she was saying, there's no more work to be done in this regard. So I think the nature of being an artist is there's always more to express. Once you deem something a success, like this works. It feels like a separation from what it means to be an artist. I don't know how else to really explain it, but it's almost like, yeah, I'm not 100% sure how to explain it just yet.
Well, I think this lends itself to, if you think about artistry versus any other profession, any other industry, when people, oh, you want to go?
No, you can finish your sentence.
When people feel like, oh, they were a success, like we said, they retire, like they'll refer to themselves as like, they'll say I'm retired, or they'll say I'm a retired this, I'm a retired that. It's not often that you hear somebody say I'm a retired artist. Because even if you might have been an art teacher and now you just do art at home, or you only do art exposés or something like that, like he was saying, the art still continues to go on. That doesn't mean that you're not ever successful within your artistry. That just means, like he said, you still have more to express. I really think that it's not, because I think it's because being an artist is more than just a profession. It's kind of a part of like your identity in some ways. Like it's a part of who you are in a lot of ways, because you're expressing what's inside of you versus this thing being taught to you and you're teaching it to the world or whatever, and whatever it may look like. I don't know.
So I think I finally got the words a little bit. First, I was gonna ask, is there anybody that you would consider to be a success in the field that you're doing?
Yes, a lot of people that's successes, but they success because they further along than I am.
Yeah,
But who, name somebody that you feel is a success?
Let's see. They still creating based off what y'all saying.
You just
I
said name
did.
somebody that you do.
Everybody who I be listening to or watching.
Okay.
All right, so I would say Rod Wave is a success.
Okay, what makes him a success versus somebody else who's like, what makes him a success versus you?
I ain't say I wasn't a success.
I'm just like in comparison, all right, to somebody who wouldn't be considered a success. What specifically? Because he came to your mind. What specifically makes him a success for you?
Freedom and autonomy. I feel like that in my mind, being able to do the thing that you love makes you a success.
And I think that's the thing right there, is that, like you said early on, success is defined by the individual. So even though you, as the spectator, will say, may define somebody as a success, the artists themselves may not define themselves as a success at that point. Not saying that they haven't been successful, because successful is the adjective stating that you are a success. That means that's the noun. Like,
I also want to say I don't think it's limited to people who retire. I also think it could like I think people can set out to do something very early and they can see themselves as a success, and which is what they were talking about. When you start to see yourself as a success, your aim isn't the same as it was before. So before you might have been, you saw yourself as successful, but just for the sake of creating. Now you see yourself as successful because you're making money from it, or you see yourself as successful because you have a certain level of recognition. And I think that's a totally different ball game. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making money from your art. There's nothing wrong with gaining popularity from it. But the point is different. To me, it almost feels like when we talked about the difference between like the art and the science, like being an artist really naturally is all art. It's all feeling, it's expression. The science is how do you make this palatable for people? How do you make people respond to this? How do I get people to engage with this? And once you've done that portion, like you can be science wise, this is a success. This experiment is a success. But in terms of art, like you being more of an artist, it's a separate thing. I also think a lot of being a success is externally defined, like similar to how you were saying. I think we determine whether or not what we make is successful or fulfills us, because maybe we're throwing around success too much. But we decide what's gonna fulfill us, like personally. But how we're describing it, it seems like the world kind of determines whether or not you're a success. Like, have you successfully played this game?
One thing that I was going to say was I feel like the aim or purpose or reason for doing something is destined to change. So, like, as you grow and evolve, the reason why I'm doing this changes. So, you can still be an artist and do your art, but now I have kids and a family to support. So now I'm doing this art. I'm still an artist, but now it's more imperative that I bring some type of revenue in, because it's not just me anymore. It's me and my family, and so I feel like as we grow and evolve, just like everything else, the reason why we're doing things grows and evolves. Our purpose grows and evolves. Like everything changes. So if you look at things seasonally or as seasons, it makes sense why I guess the aim changes.
Yeah, but then now my question would be based off of that. Like, once the point of why you're doing it changes. Like if it's about being an artist, right? Once the point of you making the art isn't to express how you feel, once it's to feed your family, that's technically not art anymore. Like it's art. Like you're making something, but the point is different, and so like you're doing something. Like you're not doing the same thing that you were doing the first time, if that makes sense.
But it could be a thing of I'm still expressing myself and how I feel, but once this creation is created, now I have a new task of making money from this thing that I created.
but I think that's where he was talking about like the art and the science. I think that's where the art ends and the science begins.
But it doesn't make me stop being an artist.
That's not what I said.
You said that's where the art ends and the science begins.
Yeah, like you completed the art part, the part about making money, like if that doesn't have anything to do with the art part of it. Like, yes, you're gonna use the art as, you know, the way to get the money, but like the creation, you expressing and creating, that stopped after you finished that art piece.
So if the artist's reason in the beginning was to make some money, are they an artist?
They could very well be an artist. I think that expression is expression, right? So I think that the motive may change what is expressed or what comes of it from there. But like, if the artist made the painting with the motive of making money, once they stopped making the art piece and they started focusing on the making of the money, I feel like that's a separate part of your brain. It's a separate part of like what you're doing. It's not necessarily like the art part of it. It's more of the business side of it. And not to say that there's no creativity in those areas as well, but like the artist side of you has expressed itself.
And a part of me, I'm very on the fence with this one. I don't like being on the fence, but I'm on the fence with it because a part of me wants to say, if the intention is to make money, then no, you're not in the art business, you're in the commerce business, which is totally different, right? Like me making something, like the act of, which is similar to what you was talking about, like there's art in being, and there's art in everything, there's art to everything, even in there's art to making money, right? But I think when you're going into it with the intention, I think the intention is really what makes the difference. But when you're going into it with the intention of making money, the thing that you're making changes typically because of what's happening outside of you. So like, that means I'm not gonna do this next thing because it's not gonna make money. Whether or not it's a form of my expression, it's not about me anymore. It's about what other people like so that they can give me money, if that makes sense.
I think that we've talked about this before. Like when we started focusing on making money, maybe the songs then didn't come out the same, or like our heart wasn't in it when we were doing it. Like even last year, like all of last year of us focusing on making money, prioritizing, doing our best to prioritize like art and stuff like that. But a lot of our focus was on making money because we had bills to pay. And it changed how we approached whatever we were working on. It also changed the energy that we had when we were working on, or even when we weren't. And I think that for me, what I had determined was, when I start focusing on, we got to make money from this, it wound up being to my detriment, because that's also how I started to like burn out more. And I started, then we could do this, and then we could do this, and it's like, it didn't feel as creative to me. It wasn't me allowing the artist to be free. It was me, I guess, leading more so with my business mind more often than my artist mind. Not that that's always a bad thing, but in those moments, because I am an artist first, that feels not as natural to me. It feels not as good to me. It feels like, now I need to re-record this. It feels like this mix ain't come out how I needed it to. That's what it felt like to me. And there's like a level of overwhelm. So I feel like you can still, as an artist, it's important that you make money off of your stuff. Like, it's important that you sell your art and that you value the things that you're creating and that you are expressing yourself. But when you're approaching it from the mindset of, I'm only doing this to make money, it's different. Even when we talk about artists who we see on interviews on the radio, and they be like, man, I ain't even want to do this music. I just needed some money. Their music really don't even be that good.
I was going to say, I had a question. So let's say, hypothetically, right? Like you were doing something for, you were going to therapy, right? You go to therapy, you feel
Every
great.
Saturday.
Every Saturday you go to therapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then at some point,
Grae Area podcast.
yeah, hilarious.
I was like, what therapy
Yeah.
you going to?
Let's say you're going to therapy, and then because the whole point of your therapy is so that you can feel better, heal your life, right? Let's say after 2-3 months, now you're like, oh, if I go to therapy, I'm gonna get paid. I'm gonna get paid, and I can feed my family. So now it's like, all right, cool. I'm going there to get paid and feed my family. At some point, it's not about you feeling good anymore, right? Now the whole reason you're doing it is to get paid and feed your family. So it's like, do you still feel good for like going there for that reason? Like, does that still?
I think it's two things that we're trying to make one thing. So you can still put yourself first and do the thing for you. And then the second part would be, okay, now I got to figure out now I got to do this so I can feed my family, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I think all the art and creation can still be for you, but now you might have a new fire in getting it out.
Yeah.
Or another intention or just extra motivation to actually get it out. Because as an artist, a lot of artists are perfectly fine with creating the art for themselves and keeping it to themselves. So you're still an artist, but now you have another purpose. So I'm not the same artist that I was in last season as I am now.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
So, like, let's go back to growing and evolving, just like how our art grows and evolves. Like you were saying earlier, I don't want my stuff to be predictable. That's the artist staying in the box that they may think. Yeah, like it's just an artist staying in, like, just being safe and comfortable.
Yeah, but also, I'm sorry, don't forget your point. Also, right? That's art. That's me being in my artist mind, right? Being artist mind is like, I don't want to be predictable. Success mind is like, I mean, people need to have a certain level of expectation, and they need to know what they're gonna get from you to a certain degree. So
I understand that. I don't like it. You should just know that it's gonna be good.
Yeah, but I mean, and I learned this from a while ago. People they were talking about like artists don't like being put in a box, but when things are put in a box, that means they're ready to be shipped, right? Artists us wants everything to be as loose and like don't label me with anything. Organize us like I have to label this as something so I know what it's not.
I feel like it's because artists us are creating things. So if you picture a bird or an animal in a cage, they're restricted. If you picture a book in a box, it's ready to be shipped. I feel like it's two different things. So like we're creating, like it's another being. It's a piece of us. It's our child that's being created. So you gonna put my child in a box in a cage and think I'm supposed to be okay with that?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yes, only because this is. I want you to be able to go but I was gonna say I'll stick with the bird analogy for you. I hear you. I wouldn't say it's like putting a bird in a cage. It's like calling this bird an eagle versus an owl, right? I need to know the difference so that, or a eagle versus a pigeon. I need to know the difference because this has different characteristics so that when I see an eagle, I'm not going up to an eagle and approaching it like it's a pigeon, right? So that it's the same thing. Like, all right, even if we're just talking about birds in general, right? If I don't label this animal as a bird, there's no way for me to know what this is versus a camera if I don't give it a label. So like, you need them. It's annoying, but you need them. Go ahead.
I forgot my point.
Got a new point?
But I think that what they're describing as being successful and like what we're describing now, right, is I think not just like terms of how we personally define our success. I think it's the mentality of people who say, well, I'm a success versus the people who feel like they have more to strive for and that they're not a success yet. I think it goes back to the intentionality behind the work, because a lot of times if you feel like you're like I said, you are a success in an area, it feels like the end all be all. It may not be retirement, but it may be that level of mastery. That level of mastery where you feel like you've mastered all things and you don't need to do anything else. So you get lazy. So you feel like the next person they can't surpass you because you're a success. You did the things, and it's at the end of the day you may have been the first there, but you may not be the best anymore. I think that's like the real thing that they've been focusing on. It's not just like the labeling. It's not just you defining yourself as a success versus you saying that I could never be a success because I'm an artist, because that's not true. You can be a success. I think it's the mentality of it. It's when we talk about that hunger, when we talk about like the Mamba mentality and all that stuff, like to feel like, okay, there's more to practice, there's more to learn. All right, I mastered watercolors, let me work on acrylics. Like I've mastered doing runs upside down, let me master doing them in a handstand. Like, you know, like that type of thing where you don't necessarily feel like this is the end, or like I've done everything that could possibly ever be done in this field and I'm a success. It's like, well, how do I grow from here? Like you talked about, we as people are constantly evolving, so our art is constantly evolving. Therefore, if our art is constantly evolving, there still may be moments in our art where we make unintentional mistakes, or things that they look like mistakes, but then you realize in the end, like it wound up making the whole piece beautiful. It's still things that you're finding within your artistry. It's still new notes that you're learning to hit. It's still new octaves that you're realizing that you're capable of reaching. Or like when you get older, as a singer, a lot of times your voice gets deeper, at least for women. So it's like understanding like, oh, I have a different texture to the sound that I had. Like, how do I learn to master that, or how do I use it in this new way? And I think that we're focusing more on whether or not an artist can be a success. And the truth of the matter is, an artist can be a success. But most times when people define themselves as a success versus saying that they are successful, or they have achieved things, you know, they're achieving things, there's still milestones, is that the mentality is like, I don't need to do anything else.
To that point, I'll say for James Baldwin and Maya Angelou, I agree with one caveat, right? I think it's impossible to be them at the same time, because when you're being an artist, you're not worried about being a success. When you're being a success, you're not worried about being an artist. So I think in that aspect, I 100% agree, right? I also agree with your point. Like you very well can be, but I think I think when you recognize the intentions are different, it's hard to have the same result when the intentions are completely different. Like you're doing something completely different. And to the other thing that you were talking about, like just the mastering part of your party. So we talked about this in college before, but like a lot of my fear with like mastering certain things was that if I master this, I won't be able to. It sounds funny. If I master it, I won't be able to play like a beginner, right? In terms of like discover new stuff, figure stuff out, because I've already done it. So like it feels like there's no more room for me to play because I'm mastering stuff. So I naturally didn't want to do certain stuff because it's like the second I master it, the game feels like it's over. Of course, learning that's not true, but yeah.
And what I found is that the game is only over, or there's nothing left to learn, only when you say that there's nothing left to learn. There's always going to be something else for you to learn, or like to master. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, once you get to a point of like you feel like you mastered it, now you can start creating new ways, or now you play differently. Because it's not a thing of I'm stumbling upon stuff that somebody else did already. Now I'm using everything that I learned, everything that I've seen, and I might find this new key or a new way to play this certain part because I know what I'm doing.
I think it's because, like, the true master, and I've never really, I've never done martial arts yet, for real. But if you look at, like, the martial arts movies and stuff like that, the masters, like, the true masters, they haven't, like, stopped doing what they're doing. But the way that they execute the moves that they're doing, it's a level of confidence. It's like, or even if you look at, like, Bruce Lee, it's like maybe I mastered this area of might be self-discipline or these particular moves, so then I combined it with the moves that I learned in my childhood, or I combined it with the moves that I've seen on TV shows or whatever, but still allowing yourself to approach it in a way of still evolving, but knowing that I am a master versus being like, I don't gotta do nothing else, I'm good.
Yeah, and I think using Bruce Lee as a perfect example because he mastered one way of doing. He mastered Wing Chun, and then he went to found out he did like traditional. I think he even did traditional boxing at some point. And then, so for him, he was never really. I don't even know if he would consider himself a success because he was consistently adding to, like, increasing and finding ways to become better and to add to his repertoire. When I used to think about being a master, it felt like there was. I mean, there are people that do this, but it felt like there's no room for discovery because if I know everything, what is there left to discover, right? If I know exactly how to do stuff, it's not as fun sometimes, right? So some of the time it's like, all right, if I know exactly what I'm going to do before I get here, I'm not really experimenting. I'm just following a process in my head. So that's why I used to have this little weird fear of like, all right, well, I want to get to almost mastery, but not quite there, just so that I still have room to discover. Because it's like it always felt, and maybe that's just like an underlying thing that we all kind of do. Because when we feel like we know something, we stop doing it. Like we're like, all right, cool, I know this already. There's nothing for me to learn here. There's nothing for me to do here. Let me do something else. And like that was always a subconscious fear for me personally. But understanding that it's the Atomic Habits thing where you're mastery stacking. It's adding. I've mastered this. Let me add this to this element you consistently are adding to your game.
So, what needs to happen for you to consider yourself to be a success? That's the question.
Freedom and autonomy. That'll make me feel like a success outwardly, like externally. I already feel like a success. Every time I do something that I'm proud of, I feel like a success. I feel like being a success, and being a master are two different things. So you can be a success and still be a novice at something. You can feel like you're a success and still be a beginner. I don't think success and mastery have anything to do with each other. So
I wouldn't say anything.
Externally, the freedom and autonomy is when I feel like a success externally. Internally, whenever I complete something, because everything that I complete, I feel like it's better than the last thing that I did. Because I learned more. So now it's different things in there, or it's executed better than the last thing. So it's, I guess, success internally is constant improvement. Externally is freedom, autonomy.
So you would consider yourself a success when you feel that you have freedom and autonomy?
Externally. I said externally. But internally, I'm already a success. Like every time I complete something, I feel like a success.
Okay.
Internally.
Okay.
Externally.
Damani.
Yeah. When will I feel like a success? Yeah, similar to him, I think I already feel like a success, mainly because I'm doing things that I either didn't know I was able to do or I've always wanted to do. And so the act of me being able to do either one of those makes me feel successful because I didn't know or this was something that I always wanted to do and I was able to do it. So I think for me, it would be that I also agree at some point I would like some financial success that comes along with it, but I understand that's a different game entirely. So yeah, that's my answer.
Shakoya?
I would say that for me to feel that I am a success, I feel like it changes. So I feel like there are moments where I feel like I'm a success, but then because I want to achieve more, like there's, okay, I want to achieve the next thing, then there are moments where I'm like, I ain't hit the mark yet. So I do feel that I've been very successful though to this point. So I think when to like feel like I'm a success externally, I feel like when my $1 million vision that I wrote out for like playing You're Like a Millionaire, when that stuff, I start to see that stuff materialize, I think that's when I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm a success. But internally, I feel like I've been very successful. I've achieved a lot of things. Like, even just looking back on stuff, it's just stuff that, like, I didn't need to do. But I did it just because, I like certificates. So, but yeah, I feel like I am a success. I'm very successful. But because I have more that I want to achieve, I think that, like, I still be like, I'm a success, but also let's go to the next part. I don't know. I'm just enjoying the journey. I think it's important to celebrate your achievements and to recognize and accept that you have achieved things, even if it's just one thing. But I don't think it's important right now to decide whether or not I am a success. Like, because by my standards, by a lot of other people's standards, like, I might be a success to them, but to some people I'm not. By my standards, there's still more things that I want to do. But it also looks different depending on what area of my life I'm talking about. Because then there's also like family success. Like, like once I have a family, I'm successful at this. But I'm not having 1 million kids, okay? So once we hit that number, I'm a success,
Yeah. I was gonna say, I guess, based on how you're saying it, I guess, and you said this already. Being a success is always defined by the end goal. So you're only able to determine if you're a success once you get to the end. Before then, you don't know whether or not you're a success at all.
I just know I'm doing what I love. And for me, that makes me feel like a success. So I can call myself a success because that's how I feel. But whether or not externally anybody else is going to define me as a success, that means nothing to me at this point because I'm still achieving the things that I want to achieve. Like, I'm not done yet. And I think that's the point that they were making. As an artist, as a true artist, you're not going to be done. Like, and even for them, even in their older ages, I don't know what age James Baldwin passed away at, but even in their older ages, like, they were still doing stuff. Like, maybe they didn't write as many books, but they were still doing interviews and speeches, and they were still teaching in some ways. So it's like they were still being the artists. And now that they have passed on, while they were alive, we were like, yeah, they're a success. But like, they achieved so much before that. And then after you pass on, you're like, they were absolutely a success.
Yeah, that's good. Based on like knowing the end goal and it being defined by the end, and this is probably obvious, but God got to be an artist because God is still creating stuff, right?
When I was listening to, I don't even remember what book it was. It might have been The Science of Being Great, and he was talking about like all of the creatures in the sea or something like that. Like God created the creatures in the sea before the creatures on land. And I started thinking about stuff, and I was like, what if he did make mermaids and stuff like that? It's probably like actual like human aqua people or something like that. And he was like, I don't like this. And like, cause you know how a lot of the uglier fish and stuff is down.
That's crazy.
It's down, they down there, they down deep, and we don't know nothing about them. Like, it's a whole different world out there that we don't know nothing about. And I think he was like, you know what, y'all, it's cool that y'all can walk, talk, and breathe and swim underwater. But I think I want to put some people on the land.
The way you said it, you made it sound like I was like, ooh, that was an ugly one. Let's put that underwater.
Nah, but you know when you a kid.
Put it under the all of the water.
But you know when you
I don't want to see it.
Listen, you know when you a kid, you first start doing your first like finger paintings and your first drawings, and your parents put it on the fridge, and it's like then you get older and you look at it and be like, okay.
And then you drown it. That's what you do.
They didn't drown. They still alive. They living down there. I'm saying I think they were made to be down there, but then he was like, I think I want some people up here. They can't swim. I mean, they can swim, but like they don't live underneath the water. Like, let's try it again. All right, let me do it again. Hold on. Like them fish down there. It's some. Go ahead and get the. Because you know the fish and the aliens. I think they was around before us, right? So, yeah, I'm gonna stop. I think he was testing everything out. Like that's by the older. You know, when animals go extinct, maybe outside of us ruining the environment. When they naturally go extinct, like when the ice age hit and all that stuff, dinosaurs, you know, he tried it. He was like, I don't like the dinosaurs. This is too much. Let me just go ahead and erase y'all.
So let me hit that delete button.
Right, let me just backspace that.
Yeah. God on a laptop hitting backspace to the dinosaurs. Crazy.
He gave us cats and dogs and cattle.
Yeah, he was like, I'm gonna give y'all something y'all can work with.
Sheep.
I made y'all a little small, so let me.
You know what I'm saying? He was like, oh, you said saber-tooth tigers? Let's just get rid of those.
Yeah,
and we're gonna get regular tigers. Because you know, they're a little bit too much going on there.
Yeah. It's possible.
Yeah. It's just crazy to think that God is up there still out here still creating.
He is. That's why they still discovering new animals.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild, man. She said God hit Control Alt Delete.
What was your question though? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. What was it?
God still creating?
Yeah. I don't even know how I
don't think it was an actual question.
Yeah. Or do y'all think God? I said God has to be an artist because he's still creating. God, I don't even know if God would look at the world and be like, this is a success or not.
I think everything is in progress, and I think that's why we still evolve as people. And I think that was by design, because as the creator and as like the ultimate artist, I would want to keep creating.
Mm-hmm. So do you think, and this is my last question about God for today, do you think God was a success initially and got bored and said, let's do some art?
Yes.
And said, let's go make some stuff. Big bang.
Big bang in them. Yes.
I don't think he was ever not making art.
I agree.
That's it.
Nothing more.
I agree, but I think that's also why there's other galaxies and stuff like that. And like we don't know what other stuff. We just know we right now are currently in progress.
We in paradise.
In process and in progress.
I wouldn't say all that. Are we?
How you define paradise?
You talking about the show?
Yeah, 'cause that's what I said.
Yeah, I ain't in that one.
Yeah, no.
Mm-mm. That ain't the bubble I live in.
Her bubble is for the black girlies. Safe space.
Exactly. Do y'all have any final thoughts on can an artist be a success and still be an artist? Do y'all have any final thoughts on those?
Mm-mm.
On God creating the heavens and the earth? And the earth being that way. See, the earth without form or void when he started. All right, I'm gonna keep on. All right, y'all comment below. Let us know. Let us know if you believe that you can be an artist and still define yourself as successful or as a success.
Yeah.
That was
I
lit.
was like, that was not a. She freestyled that.
What's
one.
the question?
It was a statement.
It was a statement. Let us know if you feel like you can be an artist and be a success at
What
the
he
same
said.
damn time.
Exactly. But also, if you want to watch this podcast live and early, don't forget to join the Patreon. The link is in the description below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.
Ding.
Thank you for joining us at the Grae Area Podcast.
Grae.
I'm Shakoya D.
Badman Breezington.
Your humble friend of mine.
We'll see you guys next time.
Adios.
Stay blessed. Stay black, people.
And if you like this episode, you're going to love the one that's linked up here on the screen. Bye.
You say what? Know yourself. Know your worth. Jukebox, hit me with another jam. Get on my face. Get on my motherfucking face. Please. Push the goddamn button.